We will move to AB 132, file item 132, AB 2030 by Mr. Mullen. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2030 by Assemblymember Mullen and others, an act relating to transportation.
Mr. Mullen.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Members, AB 2030 increases the purchasing thresholds of transit agencies in my district, Samtrans and BART, to allow relatively low-cost procurements to be processed more efficiently while maintaining compliance with Federal Transit Administration requirements. This bill raises the small purchase threshold and the limits under which the agencies can purchase supplies, equipment, and materials. This will allow the agencies additional flexibility to meet their purchasing needs more quickly. There have been some questions about the CPI adjustment language in the bill. I plan to remove that language in the Senate. Members, this bill is about efficiency so that these agencies can spend less time processing paperwork for these relatively low-cost purchases and go about the important work of keeping Caltrain and BART running on time. I ask for an aye vote.
See no additional discussion or debate. The clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote, all those vote who desire to vote, all those vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 69, noes 0. The measure passes.
File items 138 and 139 pass and retain. Members, we're moving to file item 140. That's ACR 169. Clerk will read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 169 by Assemblymember Daly relative to Healthcare District Month.
Mr. Daly, you may open on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm presenting ACR 169, which recognizes May 2016 as Healthcare District Month. There are 78 healthcare districts throughout California, with 8 of them being in my district. Healthcare districts offer a variety of services aimed at improving community health. They include acute care, hospitals, senior services, primary care clinics, dental clinics, long-term care, and skilled nursing, just to name a few. In many communities across the state, healthcare districts are the sole source of health care, making them an integral part of the safety net for the state's uninsured and underinsured. Members, I respectfully ask for aye vote and ask for the first roll to be open for co-authors.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Seeing no discussion or debate on the resolution, Mr. Daly is asking that the first roll be open for co-authors. Clerk will open the roll. Members, this is for co-authors on ACR 169. Co-authors on the resolution. The clerk will close the roll. There are 77 co-authors added. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the resolution. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. File items 141 and 142 pass and retain. File item 143, AB 2389. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2389 by Assemblymember Ridley Thomas, an act relating to elections.
Mr. Ridley Thomas, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to present AB 2389, which would allow a special district to transition from at-large to district-based elections without voter approval if it is in the furtherance of the California Voting Rights Act. This is a measure that has broad support. It is friendly to the taxpayer in that it saves cost of litigation with respect to the California Voting Rights Act, and it is pro-people in the sense that it empowers residents of special districts to have voices from their own communities on their boards, their elected governing boards. With that, Mr. Speaker, I would respectfully request that this body affirmatively support AB 2389.
Thank you, Ms. Ridley Thomas. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 57, noes 13. Measure passes. File item 144, pass and retain. File item 145, AB 2294. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2294 by Assemblymember Gomez, an act relating to the California State University.
Mr. Gomez, you may open.
Mr. Speaker, members, Assembly Bill 2294 will require California State University to grant release time to an employee who has been elected to serve as an officer of an affiliated union. This bill will give CSU faculty the same rights to leave as enjoyed by K through 12 and community college employees to participate in an affiliated union. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 50, noes 25. Measure passes. File item 146, AB 2471. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2471 by Assemblymember Quirk and others, enact relating to healthcare districts.
Dr. Quirk, you may open.
Thank you, Speaker and members. AB 2471 will require Alameda LAFCO to review the Eden Healthcare District and order its dissolution if it meets the following criteria. It does not provide any direct healthcare services, it does not currently receive a property tax allocation, and it has substantial net assets. AB 2471 will require that Alameda LAFCO follow the expedited dissolution procedures already established in existing law. This district bill is sponsored by Alameda County and supported by the cities of Hayward and San Leandro, all of the jurisdictions that are in the healthcare district. Please help me eliminate an unnecessary layer of government. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on this important measure.
Thank you, Dr. Quirk. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 65, no 0. Measure passes. File items 147 through 150 pass and retain. On Senate third reading, file item 151, SCR 103 for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read the resolution with amendments.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 103 with amendments by Assemblymember Cristina Garcia.
Ms. Garcia, you may open on the amendments.
Thank you, members. The proposed amendments simply add co-authors to the resolution. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item and without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. File items 152 and 153 pass and retain. File item 154, SB 254. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 254 by Senator Allen and others, enact relating to campaign finance, calling an election to take effect immediately.
Mr. Williams, you may open.
Mr. Speaker, members, this bill, now that it has been determined by the courts that it is within our purview, would place a measure on the state ballot regarding the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United versus the Federal Electoral Commission. Citizens United rolled back the previous ban on corporate spending in federal elections, opening the door to unlimited corporate funds being spent on influencing elections. This measure would specifically ask voters whether California's elected officials should use all of their constitutional authority, including proposing and ratifying one or more amendments to the U.S. Constitution, to overturn Citizens United and other applicable judicial precedents, to allow the full regulation or limitation of campaign contributions and spending, to ensure that all citizens, regardless of wealth, may express their views to one another and make clear that corporations should not have the same constitutional rights as human beings. Please join me in allowing the collective voices of California's voters to be heard on one of the most vital discussions facing our democracy and vote aye on this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. DeBabney, you're recognized.
I want to thank the author for bringing this today, and I deeply, deeply feel passionate about this and agree with the author. But I will say, for anyone that has read the LA Times today, have to agree that we need to be very careful not to clutter the ballot. And we have a number of really important binding issues that will be before voters this year in terms of actual policies that will affect people's lives day in, day out. And this is a very important statement we're making as a state, but I hope we'll use this as a very rare tool and not clutter the ballot with basically polls. And so I'm very supportive of this measure today. I think this is an outlier issue that deserves the attention of voters to send a clear message to the national level that will give politicians at the federal level hopefully more courage, and the Supreme Court hopefully will reverse course on this. But I do hope that most of us here will continue to serve and make sure that we do not clutter the ballot going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Badman. Mr. Gatto, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise not only to echo the comments of the good gentleman from Woodland Hills. I too read the editorial in the LA Times this morning. I think it made some very good points, which is this power that the court has agreed we have now really does have the ability to be abused in the future, where whatever party or whatever stripe a legislature is, they can put things on the ballot to try to drive turnout, which I think is a mistake because we'll end up with a cluttered ballot that confuses the voters. The second point I want to make is that the people of the state of California have already spoken against Citizens United. They elected us, and we passed my AJR 1 just a couple of years ago, which uses the Article 5 process in the federal Constitution to demand that Congress calls a constitutional convention on this very issue. So with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gatto. Seeing no additional discussion or debate on this item, Mr. Williams, you may close if you wish.
Well, that was a couple of the most backhanded aye requests I've heard in a while. Look, the ship has already sailed on cluttering the ballot. We cannot blame this initiative alone for cluttering the ballots. Just about everybody has put something on the ballot. So while the LA Times makes a good point, I do not think that this particular provision and this bill should be held hostage to that request, since the ballot is already cluttered. According to a 2015 Bloomberg poll, 78% of Americans think Citizens United should be overturned, including more than 80% of Democrats and Republicans. The Senate bill gives Californians the ability to vote on an issue that they care deeply about. Let's give them that chance and make their voices heard. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. With that, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 48, noes 26. Measure passes. Members, we are moving to consent calendar. Does any member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will read the second-day consent calendar.
Assembly Bill 2827 by Assemblymember Levine, enact relating to advertising.
The clerk will open the roll on the consent calendar. All members vote who wish to vote. All members vote who wish to vote. All members vote who wish to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 76, no 0. The consent calendar is adopted. We will defer the reading of the remaining items on the consent calendar until after adjournment in memory. Moving to announcements and adjournments in memory. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. The session schedule is as follows. Friday, May 13th, no check-in session, no floor session. Monday, May 16th, floor session at 1 p.m. In the absence of objection, the quorum call is lifted, and we will now move to previously announced adjournments in memory. Remaining members, please take your seats. Madam Speaker Emeritus, you are recognized for your adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I would ask the Assembly to adjourn in memory of Candy Kane. It's not often that a major city dance company produces a musical about someone who was a phone sex operator, stripper, adult film performer, and hustler model. That was Candy, and I would certainly call her the modern-day equivalent of Mae West. But biographical ballets and plays are written for special people, and Candy Kane was indeed a very special woman. Candy was born Candace Hogan in Ventura. She grew up in Los Angeles amid hard-scrabble circumstances. Along the way, she fell in love with music, changed her name, moved to San Diego, where she became an icon in the local music scene. Her musical odyssey took her through styles such as opera, country, punk rock, blues, and jazz. She toured Europe many times and even played with one of my very favorite country music stars, Dwight Yoakam. Not only did she not let her life's difficulties bring her down, she used her experiences to promote a positive message of acceptance. She wrote and performed uplifting songs about womanhood, body image, aging, sexuality, and sexual orientation. Songs whose colorful and evocative names I'll let you look up yourselves. Her shows were high energy, and just as high energy as she was. She loved life, and that was evident in her performance. Her love of life was also evident in her years-long battle against cancer, during which she refused to quit playing live music. In 2012, she received a special Courage in Music honor at the San Diego Music Awards. She said, "If I can overcome all of the craziness that I've had in my life, then other people can overcome what has been handed to them as well." I would ask that we adjourn in her memory, extend our deepest sympathy to Candy's family, her many friends, and her many, many fans.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Emeritus. Mr. David Chu, you are recognized for your adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise along with our West Side San Francisco colleague to adjourn in the memory of a great San Franciscan who was a champion for social and economic justice, Eileen Hansen. Eileen was a longtime champion for diverse communities in our city, in our state, and in our country. For decades, she championed many issues ranging from women's and LGBT rights to international peace and on behalf of disenfranchised communities. She committed 14 years of her life to activism on HIV and LGBT causes during the height of the AIDS crisis as executive director of the National Lawyers Guild AIDS Network and as the public policy director for both the Women's AIDS Network and the AIDS Legal Referral Panel. Beyond her activism, she worked as a nonprofit coach and consultant and served a 6-year term on our city's Ethics Commission, focused on integrity in government and setting the bar high for governmental ethics, not just in San Francisco, but nationwide. While we are saddened by her passing, her influence and spirit will carry on in California and San Francisco. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Mr. Gibson, you are recognized for your adjournment in memory.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise to adjourn the memory of Justin Huey, a young man from the city of Carson who was gunned down while standing outside of his local elementary school, which was directly across the street from where he resided. After the shooting, he was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and sadly he passed away a week later on April the 20th. Justin was a focused student, well-loved, an athlete at Carson High School, and also very well revered when it comes to volleyball. He had just celebrated his 18th birthday 4 days before the shooting, and he was looking forward to graduation and also going to college with a 4.0 grade point average. Justin was also highly involved in local community and even partnered with me as a council member in the city of Carson, bringing Red Ribbon Week to the city of Carson, which is now celebrated since Justin brought it before the city council. Justin had a passion for life. The city council placed a $20,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of his shooter. Members, I respectfully ask that we adjourn in memory of this young man, Justin Huey.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Ms. Lopez, you are recognized for your adjournment in memory.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Today I rise in honor of life of one of my constituents, Gloria Brown. Mrs. Brown was born in Alabama and moved to California a year after. As a child, Mrs. Brown liked to swing and ring in the playground, sing with her younger sister. Later in life, Mrs. Brown settled in Pacoima with her husband and helped break ground the First United Methodist Church. While attending this church, she sang in the heart and remembered the chorus and played the organ. She was a treasurer, secretary, and leader, member, chairperson, and the president. When not helping her church, she was traveled all over California. On Wednesday, April 27, Gloria took her greatest final journey. I ask today to adjourn in her memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Mr. Rodriguez, you are recognized for your adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. Today I rise in adjourning in memory of Robert Bob Hardy. Bob Hardy, 92, passed away peacefully at his home in Ontario on Thursday, April 4, 2016. In 1952, Bob began a 33-year teaching and administrative career in the Ontario Montclair School District. In 1987, he was elected to the Ontario Montclair School District Board of Trustees, where he served until his retirement in 2009, a 21-year tenure. Bob was a special person in the Ontario Montclair School District. He made enormous contribution of time and energy to improve the education of students and working environment in the district's certificated, classified, and management staff. In 1998, the Board of Trustees honored Bob by opening the Robert Hardy Professional Development Center, dedicating to training district staff to better serve its students, which was of utmost importance to Bob. He dedicated over 57 years to the Ontario Montclair School District community. He is survived by his wife Laverne and his 8 children. Colleagues, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Robert Bob Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Seeing and hearing no further business, I am ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Calderon moves. Ms. Gaines seconds. That this House stands adjourned until Monday, May 16th at 1 p.m.